All right, and welcome to arc length and sector area. So in number 1, it's asking us to find the central angle of a circle with an arc length of 10 meters and a radius of 4 meters. And I've seen a lot of students really struggle with this, and one of the key factors is that students will just sometimes get the formulas mixed up. So it's so key that you're always looking for either the words arc and length, or you're looking for that word sector. Either one of those is going to be kind of a dead giveaway. So if I'm talking about the arc length, I want to use this formula. It's a cursive L, stands for the arc length, is equal to x, which is your central angle, over 360, times 2 pi r. Okay, and your arc length is just a fraction of the circumference. And this formula right here, 2 pi r, is the formula for the circumference of a circle. Okay, and so we're going to go from left to right, and we're going to plug in all the things that we know. I know that my arc length is 10, so I'll go ahead and say 10 is equal to x over 360 times 2 times pi, and I know I have a radius of 4. The only thing that I'm not given is this x, the central angle. Okay, so how would you solve an equation like this? Because we have to use solving since our variable has a bunch of things all around it. Well, I'd probably do this in something like 3 steps. 1, I would just take these 3 numbers, they're all being multiplied, and I'm going to simplify that. And all that means is I'm going to multiply all of that together. Okay. And so let's see, if I do, obviously 2 times 4 is 8, and so if I do 8 times pi, I will get 25.13. Now, what I'm going to do next is actually a little bit difficult than what I've taught, or a little bit different than what I've taught in class. I'm actually going to rewrite this. What I can rewrite this as 10 is equal to, remember all of this is, it's not a fraction, it's in the numerator. All of that was equal to 25.13. I'm going to write 25.13 all over 360, and I'm going to write that x off to the side. And so now the same way that I multiplied all 3 of those things together, what I can do is I can do 25.13 divided by 360. So if I do 25.13 divided by 360, well, now I'll get 0.069, or let's do 0.07. Okay, so now what I have is 10 is equal to 0.07 times x, my central angle. And now all I have to do is divide both sides by 0.07. Divide by 0.07. And notice I get this. I get x, which is aka my central angle, is 10 divided by 0.07, which is interestingly 142 we'll just go 9 degrees since I ran out of room. Okay, and there you go. We're just going to use a little bit of algebra. The only tricky thing that you have to know is this is saying x is being divided by 360 and then multiplied by 2 pi times 4. Well, I can more or less multiply my 2 pi times 4 together and then just divide it by that 360. That's how we got that 0.07. So I would encourage you pause the video, finish taking notes. Let's go take a look at number 2. So number 2 says find the radius of a circle with a central angle of 138 and a sector area. Oh, there we go. There's our key word. If you ever see that word sector, we're now talking about an entirely different formula. You would write it like this. A, and whenever I do a capital A for area, I always like to notate what kind of area we're talking about. So area of a sector is equal to x, our central angle, over 360 times pi radius squared. Where here, instead of having the formula for the circumference, we have the formula for the area of a circle. That's what a sector is. It's a fraction of the area of the circle. Okay, so left to right, let's plug in all the things we have. I know my area is 220 is equal to, I know my central angle is 138 over 360, and then times pi times my radius squared, because I don't know what my radius is. Now here, same as in the previous page, what I'll do is I'll take all of this and I'm just going to go ahead and simplify. So I go to my big yellow calculator and I'll do 138 over 360 times pi. And this gives me 220 is equal to 1.2, we'll just go 0.4 radius squared. Now, in order to get the radius squared by itself, I'll divide both sides by 1.204. I'll divide by 1.204. And 220 divided by 1.204 will give me 182.72 is equal to my radius squared. Now, how would you get rid of the square? Well, what's the opposite of a square? That is the square root. And so let's take the square root of our answer, and we'll get this. The radius is equal to 13.52 inches. Oh, inches. There we go. Cool. Once again, I'd encourage you to pause the video, finish taking your notes. Let's move on to our third and final example. Okay, we want to find the arc length. Wait, pause. Most important part of the video, the arc length. So what formula should we use? Well, our arc length formula is arc length is equal to x over 360 times 2 pi r. Now, there's one tricky thing about this problem. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. What is that one tricky thing? Well, here, they don't give us the radius, they give us the diameter. And so remember, when your diameter is equal to 12, how do you go from your diameter to your radius? Well, you have to divide by 2. And here our radius is equal to 6. Okay, from left to right, let's plug in everything we know. My arc length is equal to my central angle, 138 over 360, times 2 times pi times my radius, which is 6. You always want to be careful. Now, once I multiply all this together and simplify that, I'll have my arc length. Okay, so 138 over 360 times 2 times pi times 6 would be 14.45. And in this case, we'll say centimeters. All right, I hope these 3 examples have helped you out. These are really and truly kind of the only 3 ways that you could be asked for your problem. You could be asked to find the area or the arc length. You could be asked to find the radius, or you could be asked to find the central angle. Either way, best of luck, and I'll catch you in our next video series.